The research is clear. Masking can help autistic adults get access and connection, but the long-term cost can be identity loss, delayed diagnosis, and burnout. This isn't a just unmask video. It's real talk about why masking happens, what it costs, and how to lower that price. So let's go. Welcome, my stars of Orion. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Orion Kelly, that autistic guy. I'm all about providing validation and support for autistic people and their loved ones. Now, this topic hits deep because masking doesn't just affect one moment. It can shape your whole life, your job, your friendships, your relationships, your diagnosis story, and your mental health. And for a lot of late diagnosed autistic adults, masking is the reason people missed what was happening with you for years. And a new systematic review breaks down the benefits of masking and the brutal costs. So let's start by reframing the concept of masking. Listen up. Masking is a survival strategy for autistic people. It is not a decision or a choice or a personality flaw. A 2025 systematic review by Summerall and Summers looked at the consequences of social camouflaging in autistic adults across 24 studies. And I want you to hear this clearly. Masking is not being fake. Masking is often a learned survival strategy in environments that punish autistic communication and reward neurotypical performance. This review shows two things can be true at the same time. So masking can help you get access to connection, safety, and say opportunities in the short term. And masking can have a long-term cost: exhaustion, anxiety, depression, identity strain, and delayed diagnosis. My take on this is pretty simple. If an autistic person must perform normal just to be treated fairly, the problem isn't the autistic person. The problem is the system we live in. Let's bust 3 of the biggest masking myths with the research to back it up. Myth number 1. Masking is just being polite. It's the right thing to do. Everyone does it. The reality is masking is often high effort adaptation under pressure. Now, in this research area, autistic adults describe masking as monitoring, editing, suppressing, copying, rehearsing, basically running a social control room in your head while trying to look relaxed and neurotypical. And across multiple studies included in the review, higher camouflaging is often linked with more stress and mental health strain for many autistic adults, even though that pattern isn't identical in every study. Myth number 2, masking proves you must be high functioning. Right? So it must be good being you. Well, the reality is masking can hide support needs and hide autism from professionals. The review highlights evidence that camouflaging can contribute to delayed or missed diagnosis. And why? Because people get very good at looking fine in their quite short appointments, their work settings, their social situations. Myth number 3, masking is always harmful, so you should just stop. Well, look, this might be controversial, but in reality, I guess masking can have some real short-term benefits. And for some people, it's protective. You know, one of the strongest things about this review is that it doesn't flatten the story. It doesn't pretend masking is only harmful. It acknowledges benefits like avoiding stigma, feeling connected, using different communication strategies to function in real life. So no, I'm not here to shame anyone for masking. I'm here to reduce the cost of it and help more people build environments where masking isn't the price of entry. Let's talk about the short-term benefits of masking for autistic people before we get to the long-term costs. So the review highlights 3 main short-term functions. They are avoiding stigma, connectedness, and alternative ways of communicating. So let's translate that into everyday life. All right, so avoiding stigma through masking can look like forcing eye contact so you're not called rude. Laughing on cue, so you're not called cold. Copying the group so you don't get singled out. Hiding, suppressing your sensory needs so you don't get punished for them. Connectedness. Well, that can look like getting through the early part of a friendship. Have you noticed when you get a friend as an autistic person, there's really only an early part? Surviving a family event without becoming the problem. But this one matters a lot. Alternative communication can mean an autistic adult choosing a different communication mode, like writing things down, using more structure, or changing context so communication is easier and less overwhelming. Now that showed up in the review too. And I think that's really an important distinction because not all masking is just pretending. Sometimes it's actually adaptation. Sometimes it's actually a bridge from neurodivergent to neurotypical. But that's not a bridge that doesn't join. You know what I mean? It joins up now. A bridge. Get up. Now the hard part. Let's explore the long-term costs of masking. Now, the review's long-term consequences focused on three things: identity, delayed or missed diagnosis, and mental health. So cost number one. The first cost of masking for autistic people is identity. I would call that the who am I problem, right? You get diagnosed, who is the real me? Now, if you spend years performing acceptable, you actually start losing access to who you really are. And the review pulls together evidence showing masking can actually create conflict around identity and self-perception because survival starts to depend on editing yourself in real time. And that can feel like being liked for the mask, not for you. Getting praised for being easygoing when you're actually shutting down. Feeling guilty for having needs because you've trained yourself not to show them, to suppress. The second cost of masking is delayed diagnosis. The why can't anybody see this kind of story. And the review also points to evidence that camouflaging can delay identification and diagnosis. And this matters so much for late diagnosed autistic adults because diagnosis isn't a label. For a lot of people, it's the first time their life stops looking like a string of personal failures and starts making sense. It can be the difference between what is wrong with me? Why am I such a horrible person? And, oh, okay, my brain just works differently. And the third cost of masking for autistic people is mental health. Exhaustion, all the way to anxiety and depression. And the review summarizes a pattern across many included studies. Camouflaging is often described as exhausting and frequently linked with stress, anxiety, depression, and in some studies, suicidality and alcohol substance use as possible coping responses. No crap. But what's funny is masking gets talked about like it's purely social, but it's not. Masking is also sensory. It's cognitive. It's nervous system. It's, if you're in a loud, bright, unpredictable environment, your ability to regulate facial expression, tone, and processing speed can change super fast, just like that. So what happens? Well, you go flat, people think, he's got an attitude. You go blunt, people think, so aggressive. You ask for clarity, people think, so difficult. You shut down, people go, you're just lazy, mate. But then you mask harder to avoid the consequences. That cycle becomes masking to avoid punishment. And that fits exactly with what this review is showing around stigma and victimization. And this is why loved ones matter so much. See, a safe environment reduces masking way faster than any communication tips ever will. So here are some, because you won't do the other. Practical scripts both autistic adults and their loved ones can use. First scenario around work, a self-script. Just give me a moment, okay? I'm just processing. I just 30 seconds, 6 seconds, just give me some time to process and then I'll give you an answer. Like I want to give you the right answer, not a rushed one. Now, a lower masking version could be, I actually do better with clear questions. So if you could tell me the decision that you actually need, I think I can answer it more accurately. For a manager or a colleague, take your time. Do you want to put that in writing so you can actually respond more clearly? You know, that one small shift reduces performance pressure and gives actual competence a chance to show up. Autistic people are competent. We just need the chance to show it. Another scenario, social stuff. A self-script. Look, I want to come. I just think I can probably do it for about an hour. And if I leave early, it's not you, okay? Just energy. A support script. No worries. I'm just glad you're coming. You want me to help? We can do a low pressure exit when you're done. This kind of stuff, this keeps connection and protects recovery. How about a healthcare scenario around, say, appointments? A self-script. Be upfront. I can sound calm when I'm actually not coping. So I've written notes because I don't want my presentation here to hide the actual impact. A support script. You could say, look, they often present as okay in appointments, but the day-to-day impact is actually much bigger. So we've written some examples so nothing gets missed. See, this directly relates to the review's point about delayed or misdiagnosis and hidden support needs. And a scenario around relationships. Maybe you need some decompression time. A self-script. Look, when I get home, I'm not upset with you, but I'm just going to go to my space, going to go decompress, quiet, regulate. Not about you, just need some time. Your partner, just support them. Got it, no worries. I'll see you when you're ready. I mean, you could ask them, do you need anything? Food, drink, just want to reset? That stuff seems so simple, but do you know how many arguments that could actually save? Let's go through a bit of a translation dictionary for you in this scenario. So I say I'm fine, you hear nothing's wrong. What I mean is, I'm coping in this public mode of masking. The best reply is, do you want to talk now or after you decompress? I might say, I don't mind, whatever. Now you hear, either option works, fantastic. What I mean is, I can't actually access my preferences on that this quickly. So I'm just giving you what you want. The best reply is, look, here are two options. Which one feels less stressful for you? I may say, can you be more specific? You think, can we stop arguing about every little detail? What I mean is, I'm actually trying to prevent mistakes and panic. A great reply can simply be, yes. What do you need? I say, I just can't do that today. You think, well, I don't care about you because I don't want to do that thing. What I mean is, look, if I push and do this, I'm going to crash. I could do it for you or do it, but I know that's going to tip me over the edge. A great reply is, well, thanks for telling me early. I appreciate that. Is there a smaller version we could do together? What could we do? All right, let's tackle some basic arguments here. But everyone masks. That's normal. Yeah, sure, everyone adjusts sometimes. But this review is about social camouflaging in autistic adults, where the effort is often chronic, intense, and tied to stigma, misunderstanding, and survival. That's not the same as someone saying, well, I'm just trying to be professional. Another one, if masking helps me succeed, why change it? That's a fair question. If it's working and not costing your health, no shame. But this review shows the long-term cost can be high for so many autistic adults, especially around identity, diagnosis, and mental health. So the goal isn't to stop masking. The goal is to stop paying for safety with your well-being. But how about this classic argument? Hang on, you want me to unmask? Isn't unmasking unsafe? See, when you receive a diagnosis, you realize for most of your life, you've been masking or suppressing your true self and all your instincts and feelings and experiences. And when you're diagnosed, you almost feel like, well, now it's my right. It's my rite of passage. I owe this to myself to take the mask off. Now, some say, well, is that dangerous? Is that good? I say, what mask off? You can't unmask. Who unmasks? You are you. This is you. To me, it's almost a fiction that autistic people can fully unmask. And at what cost? And that's exactly the argument that people bring up. Okay, well, I can do it, but is there a cost? I think there is, and it seems pretty unsafe. And to that I say, yeah, you're right. Sometimes it is really unsafe. That's exactly why I'm not going to tell you to unmask, to take the mask off everywhere in life. I mean, frankly, it's more like strategic authenticity in safe places. Put yourself in better environments where possible. Provide yourself with less pressure to perform all the time. These are the better things to consider. Not just, well, I take it off and that's that. Let me give you a basic masking example. An autistic adult gets, say, praised at work for being easy to deal with because they're calm. They seem flexible. They never complain. Now, at first, that praise can feel pretty good because being easy means less conflict, fewer corrections, fewer penalties. But nobody sees what happens next. You get home and you collapse. You can't talk. You can't even choose what to have for dinner. You can't answer, how was your day, without feeling like this is too much. Stop talking to me about stuff. And then the thought hits. Why can everyone else do this, but I can't? I'm going to work or school or wherever, and I'm masking for my life, for my survival. And people think, well, this guy's great. This person's amazing. But when I return home from outings, school, work, whatever, I feel like I've been in a war zone. I can't even look after myself anymore. And you fall into a deep, dark hole of trying to work out, wait, do people go to work or to school or to social events and come home and feel okay? Is that a normal thing for some people? How is that possible? How can they do that? I don't understand why it's so hard for me. And then it just spirals. And then it just gets worse and worse. The cost of masking. That, my friends, is the masking tax for autistic people. And it fits this review exactly. Short-term access, long-term cost. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. What is the biggest cost masking has had in your life? Is it work, relationships, health, identity? And if you want to learn more, check out my playlist, Autism and Dysregulation.